Good afternoon, and thank you all for taking your time out to attend this virtual roundtable discussion co-hosted by Insperisys and IBM. My name is Makbul Hassan. I head the Enterprise Solutions and Services business at Insperisys India and the Middle East. As you are aware, Insperisys has always been in the forefront of technology, either by way of collaboration with technology leader or through its in-house innovation. Today, along with IBM, we bring to this roundtable an interesting topic on how AIOPS can fuel the digital transformation of IT operations. Insperisys and IBM go a long way. In fact, we were one of the first to sign up with IBM when they came into India, TISL those days in 1996. So it is more than 25 years of togetherness, delivering optimized solution to esteemed clients like you. This virtual roundtable today will focus on cutting-edge ITOps technologies of the future. IBM will talk about how AIOPS can unlock the power of AI for IT with predictive insights to reduce outages. We have with us Vikas, Budhiraja, and Manav Pachauri from IBM to drive this session. Both are highly experienced in their respective fields. Manav is a brand specialist of IBM AIOPS, while Vikas is the segment leader, application management and integration portfolio for IBM for India as well as South Asia. We also have my colleague Pankaj Grover, who is the head of sales for infra services and cloud services, and also Naresh, who is our practice head for infra and cloud. Naresh will also moderate this session with the IBM team. I once again extend to you all a very warm welcome to this session and hope you will enjoy and you will find this interesting and will make advantage of this session. Let me now invite Vikas to take it forward. Vikas, over to you, Vikas.
Mr. Makbul, thank you very much, and team. A warm welcome to all of you. It's my pleasure to basically talk to all of you today. As Mr. Makbul introduced me, I am the segment leader for IBM application management and AIOPS portfolio for India. I'll not take much time. I'll just give you a glimpse of that. What are the areas we are going to cover today? What are the ITOps portfolio is all about? And then I'll hand it over to Manav over there. So can I go to the next slide? Thank you. So this is a glimpse of our AIOPS portfolio from IBM. So how we automate IT, how we help organization to take their speed their decision making and assuring the application performance and save the cost for them. So it basically categorized into 4 categories. First is observe. So we all know that now the era is not about monitoring, is all about observability. Okay. So our first set of product, which covers observability, which goes deeper into an application, understand the application environment, basically gives a full stack visibility into the environment, provides a real-time processing, and provide a complete visualization of your application infrastructure and the application performance over there. That's what known as Instanta, and that's what covered our observability portfolio. That's what the first pillar of automate IT or AIOPS portfolio of IBM. Second one is all about manage. So we can basically look at our application performance. Application performance tools can give us the performance of the application, how the application is behaving. But when it comes to the taking a decision of application performance optimization, taking a decision of what resources are required when, taking a decision of cost optimization, taking a decision of resource management. So all these things basically comes from the application resource management tool, which works hand in hand with the APM solution. And that's where the manageability comes into the picture. And that's where the second pillar comes, which is all about Turbonomics. Okay. When we have the application, we have the say application resource management as a part of that. And then basically we have to capture the events. We have to understand what's happening into our environment. We have to capture the faults. We have to understand the anomaly happening in those faults. We have to understand proactively what's the problem happening into the environment. So that's where the predict part come into the picture, which basically helps you in identifying the anomaly, collecting the faults, collecting the information from all of your system and taking it to a service management system. And that's the third pillar is all about where we comes on the predictability side of it. And that's what CP for Watson AIOPS, which comes into the picture, and basically that gives you the capability of correlation, root cause analysis, your anomaly detection, predictive AI. All these capabilities come from CP for Watson AIOps. The fourth pillar is, we all knows about, if I take an analogy of cars, basically cars are like our application, and then we have our say engine is all about our infrastructure, and the roads are all about our network. So network is a key aspect of our applications running, correct? So there the network visibility becomes a key area for us to basically go and understand deeper that what's happening into the network side of the story. And there, basically, if we want to understand the performance of my network, want to troubleshoot, want to do the capacity planning, want to do the reporting, want to do the tool consolidation, basically we have multiple type of application environment like SD-WANs, or we have Wi-Fi's, or we have routers, switches, we have some telecom devices. So how I can basically consolidate all tools, there the fourth pillar comes into the picture, which is network visibility, which gives you a complete network visibility and network performance capabilities from the solution perspective. So these four pillars, when they combine together, observe, manage, predict, and network visibility, all these four pillars combined together covers our AIOps portfolio. Okay. Without wasting much time on this, I will basically hand it over to Manav, who will now take you through all these products one by one quickly, and then we can take a question and answer post that. In case you feel that you have any questions, please do put it on a chat window so that we can try answering it ASAP over there. Thank you very much. And Manav, over to you.
Thanks, Vikas. Manav, we have made you as the presenter. Take it forward. Thanks.
Thank you. So I see that you're still sharing your screen. So I'll start sharing mine. All right, guys. Thank you for joining, everyone. Hope my screen is visible to everyone. So today we are gathered here to understand how AIOps is important, how it's driving the change that it is. And before we start and get into all those technical details, I want to showcase something that I have in front of me right now, how digitization has basically happened in the last 1 year. I'm sure everyone can relate to this slide and see it. This was a finding from McKinsey's research, where they found out that the last 10 years of digitization has happened in 1 year due to the COVID impact that has happened. To put into numbers, there was another article mentioned in Hindustan Times, which was about banking and finance. The overall mobile payments and digital payments that are happening through mobiles has increased to about 171% in the last 1 year, starting from April 2020 to April 21. And that just shows what's the drastic change in actual operations, even in banking and finance, that has occurred. That's one example, but we have so many other different examples in different industries that relates to how the industry is shifting towards a more digitized way of functioning. Now, what happens because of that is, to keep everything up, you need an application to be up and running. You always have an application at the backbone to create all of these digital transformations that we try and achieve. And to do that, there are two different sides that you always see. And these are basically competing sides. Now, how are they competing? One, you want to have optimal performance for your application so that you don't run into outages, you don't run into latencies or anything like that. And you also have to bear in mind the cost that you're going to be spending on your IT in order to have that performance given out to your application. Now, these are certain figures that we have from various sources, whether it be Forbes and whether it be VentureBeat. What we've seen typically, when you let the performance part be, a usual 7% decrease is seen in customer conversion on even a 1 second delay or latency on your application. Similarly, what we've also seen is that 1/3 of your spend that is done on IT is actually wastage. Now, to limit those IT costs, and to find out how that waste is happening is the actual issue that we're trying to figure out. And that latency is also one part that we also have to figure out. And that's where CIOs struggle to understand which thing should I actually take up. And it's becoming, that kind of a competing side where you have to look at both the angles. Now, when it comes to AIOps, we see 4 stages of how AIOps, journey can be adopted. But according to that itself, there are about 4 maturity levels within AIOps where you can, always find one or the other organization figuring out how they want to go ahead. Now, I'll definitely be going over the maturity stages in detail. I would like to just, point your attention towards the 4 stages of AIOps journey. Collect, provide relevant data. And by relevant data, I do not mean just events or matrices, even data which is related to you, your application logs, application dependencies, application maps, information about how your application or infrastructure has been performing for the last given period of time. It could be 1 month, 3 months, 5 months. Organizing all of this information into a normal governed data format so that you can make sense out of it. Analyze, of course, when you have data with you, the second thing to go for is to analyze that given data into meaningful set of information and infuse AI into this analysis so that you can make more and more predictions into the future on how it should move on. Those are 4 stages, and they're very crucial right now because I'll be going through these stages on how we figure out and how we have products mapped to each of these stages. But let me get to a maturity level of AIOps first. So the key elements for any AIOps strategy is to cover all of these 4 items. 1, monitor and observe. You should have the relevant data that you need to figure out what needs to be positioned, what is happening. And to do that, monitoring and observability are both required. You need to have understanding of any kind of deviations that are happening in the application to know any kind of impact that might occur later on. And you would also see a chart on the right side. The chart, if you see very closely, is bound on culture and processes. It's a major thing to look at because we can adopt as many tools as we want. If we don't have our processes streamlined and we don't have the right cultural shift happening in the organization, these models usually fail, especially AIOps. So finding out whether you need a product or not, or whether you want to have the goals aligned to one particular product, it's majorly all centric towards how you move your processes and culture along with it. And that's how we form different kind of maturity models. So many of the organizations that we've gotten in touch with are usually in the reactive state. I wouldn't even say simplified, but in the reactive state where real-time insights into data trends is coming to them, but they're not able to do anything with those data. They have that data with them, they're using that data with their normal command center teams or NOC teams, but they don't get anything done with that data. They're not able to predict or use that data to get insights on how we can actually avoid more of the issues in the longer term. And that's what I wanted to contextualize in a different way on when we see enterprises, when they are on a journey to AIOps, what we see is maximum of them are at the bottom. And all your applications would have standard monitoring right now in place. Even the new age systems that are out there do provide monitoring as a standard in their operations. For example, if you have Red Hat's OpenShift cluster, the cluster Kubernetes platform itself provides a monitoring platform to you. So you don't have to worry about monitoring in general. Your standard monitoring will always be there to provide you insights. Same goes with any other products that are out there. Standard monitoring is something that is mandatory and is needed. So platforms, whenever they're being created, do have that. But what we are missing on in getting to that particular journey are the very 2 things. An enterprise level observability, and observability is very different to monitoring. In monitoring, you would have certain thresholds breached, certain matrices blocked, in which you find out that there is an issue that has happened. When it comes to observability, you understand why exactly that issue is happening. You get more context on why exactly it's performing the way it is performing. And you figure out more resources to know what could be the root cause and how it can be resolved. Predictive management, finding out and using AI and machine learning to actually predict what can happen in the future. If an incident has occurred right now, how far can it go? It's right now, a priority 3, but can it be turning into a P1? Is it going to affect my critical applications that run my business? Having that kind of predictive management is the third level of AIOPS maturity. And how IBM can help you in this is by the range of products that we have along with it. For enterprise observability, we have Instana, which is the enterprise observability king as we see it. I'll be going into each of these products in the subsequent slides. Turbonomic also is there for application resource management. And what we see is a combination of Instana and Turbonomic. We've been able to achieve more than 30% IT savings to continuous cost performance management. We also have IBM's CloudPath for what's in AIOps. That's majorly there for 40% improvement in new services and applications. It helps you determine what kind of issues are happening and tries and free up your SREs so that they can focus on creating more new products and figuring out more issues that that you're forming in on the development side, rather than trying to just put water on the burning issues. So what we have in front of you right now is basically an end-to-end view of how these three products talk to each other and how it forms a closed loop in total. Instana provides you with 4 different pillars. And I'll be talking about these pillars in the later slides. But what Instana provides you is an application-based observability. All the applications that are functioning right now, they need to be monitored, of course, but all the logs, all the details of each transaction need to be traced as well. When you do that, you get context on whether the application is actually failing on one particular parameter, or it might be a code level or a bug issue, which would need more insights. With CloudPath for what's in AIOps, it becomes an ingestion layer. You can ingest as many events, as many alerts you can from your IT environment, and you try to bundle all of them up into one particular source, which is CloudPath for what's in AIOps. That's your place where you're infusing everything into one thing, and you infuse it with machine learning and AI. When you do that, we actually have an entire topology created, context on what might be the root cause from application down to the infrastructure, and figuring out what might be the root cause. Getting to that root cause earlier is something that gets notified through CloudPath for what's in AIOps. The third part is Turbonomic. This is for application resourcing. How these applications are functioning is not always related to a code fix or an issue related to an infrastructure outage. There are many times when an application resource crunch is also the main cause for application performance breaking down. In those kind of scenarios is where Turbonomic helps out. How Turbonomic helps is it tries to figure out the utilization of your application and tries to create a dependency map based on demand and supply. Wherever you have a demand for your application for resources, that is where you will be able to get more resources from different platforms using using the Turbonomic platform. I'll be dwelling into each of these platforms in the later stages now. To start off with, we have Instana. Instana basically, the way that we describe it is in 3 different pillars. First is automation. Now, automation is a term which has started to be used very loosely. Every other company wants, claims, and talks about automation and how we're automating everything. Now, here we put that into context on how exactly is automation being done within an APM solution. First of all is automatic continuous discovery. One thing that we always struggle with in every organization is figuring out what's the new component that has been added onto my application. Every change request, when we do it, there is a new component added to the entire loop. In that kind of case, Instana is helpful. It has agents on each of the virtual machines. Those virtual machines are considered as nodes. It tries to use its own sensors to figure out the entire dependency map and creates that discovery automatically every time in real time. It gets you complete and accurate data starting from traces using its own sensors. It finds out the entire transaction of a business application and figures out the whole transaction mapping. Does not get you normal samples. Usually you would see APM tools giving you a sample of the trace, but not with the Instana. With a 1 second granularity, it actually traces out the entire application and provides complete and accurate data on each trace. It provides you proactive health monitoring. So gone are the days when you actually have to configure each of the application or servers to figure out what kind of parameters should I monitor. Instana has a whole knowledge base to figure out that for you. It provides a whole automatic configuration mapping for each of the applications that it gets onto, and gives you all the parameters that need to be monitored for that particular application automatically. And it has curated dashboards. Those dashboards are relevant to your KPIs. It is not going to be one particular KPI stating memory is high or CPU is high. It actually goes on to business KPIs. How many are my error rates? What's the call time? There might be a dip in my actual call time of the application. There might be a rate higher on my erroneous calls that are coming in from my application. Those kind of KPIs are dashboards are present in Instana automatically. The second pillar is context. Dynamic graphing is something that is a need for everyone to see. Having that kind of a graph created for your entire application, where dependency and how each application component is connected to each other, is something that Instana provides automatically. It creates a dynamic graph. That dynamic graph can always change with change requests coming in. It detects whenever there is a change request happened and if there is a new component added. Whenever a new component is added, it is added into monitoring and tracing automatically as well. This whole parameter, the whole pillar that I'm talking about, is how Instana gets context from the actual information that it is trying to monitor. The second part, anomaly detection. Of course, we've heard about this term a lot, that the system actually figures out what should be my baseline. Here, Instana actually does it for each type of technology that it gets into, whether it be a SQL database server, whether it be a virtual machine or an OS. It figures it out by itself for each of the parameters, whether it be CPU, memory, whether it be actual response time of the transactions. It figures out what's my normal and what is going to be an anomaly if it breaches that. It builds an application perspective. That application perspective helps understand what kind of service talks to each other. Now, when you still look at the Instana dashboard, it's not one big dashboard with all your applications. You can break it down to one application that I want to see. And with that one application, you can actually see each service or each application component that is related to that one application and what's the status of it. Any kind of performance issues that are happening for one particular service component in 1 second granularity is something that you can definitely find out through Instana. It also has integration capabilities with open source tools and all the logging tools out there, the famous ones being Splunk and Humio. It also has open source integrations with Elk Stash, which is Elasticsearch Kibana. And the third is intelligent action. After all of this, you are able to have one particular place where the whole thing can be analyzed and you can perform certain actions with it. When you have automation context, the intelligent action helps you to determine more. Root cause analysis, correlated alerting, is something that you would usually find in a tool which is predominantly a manager of manager. And I'm going to talk about a similar tool like that, which is going to be CloudPath for what's in AIOPS. But we actually have that same capability in Instana, which is predominantly for the applications itself. Everything that Instana is observing, it is able to correlate that and put into an incident. So gone are the days when you actually think that I want to have one particular kind of correlation done for my applications, and infrastructure is and applications both are separate. So figuring out how my applications might actually be talking to each other is something that you can do through Instana. It also provides you guided troubleshooting, letting you know how and what should be your next step, figuring out where exactly is the anomaly, and pointing it out on what could be the guided steps that you can take to figure out the next step. It gives you immediate feedback on any kind of pipeline. So since it's able to do a whole tracing down to the transactions, even to the code level, it can tell you an immediate feedback on whenever I'm going to do any kind of change in the environment, what it's going to impact, how it's going to impact, and whether if you do a change, what's the likeliness of that change disrupting everything. There's an unbounded in analytics as well. You can actually drill down by clicking on each component and analyze that particular component's entire performance. Even when doing that, you can perform actions where you can have alerting done for a particular kind of frame. If it responses on a different way, you can actually have those kind of unbounded analytics done through Instana as well. The next one is Turbonomic. And before I start Turbonomic, what we do predominantly with Turbonomic is very much different to what you've heard recently in the past from everyone else. When you see an application, you see the application in two ways. It can go down because of any kind of issues that are happening on code level or on the infrastructure side, or it's some kind of a bug fix that you have to fix. What if it's not that? What if your application is actually choking? In those cases, the only thing that we do is we provide more resources. That's how the whole cloud journey has happened, where you're free to scale up, scale down whenever a demand spike is there. But what we do usually is, even just to assure performance, we keep APM tools so that any kind of issues can be tracked. We also keep cushions. By cushions, I actually mean extra virtual machines, an HA environment, everything so that my application does not go down. But can we assure performance with that? We're not able to. That's why we have these tools, but we still have people to look upon everything. Now, even when I'm doing that, how am I actually baselining my entire application? My application might just be utilizing the entire resources I've given. It might just be utilizing 30% of it. It might actually be able to run on a smaller box, but I've put a bigger box over there, right? How do I actually point to something where it says that you've done that, and looking at the past data, you can make changes so that both things can be balanced? And that is where Turbonomic comes in. Turbonomic does this, that it forms an entire topology map starting from the business application, as you can see in the slide. Second, to the business transactions that are happening through the application, services that are part of the application, and application components which drive the whole application. Starting from there, it drills down to other components of the application, which are infrastructure, container pods, virtual machines, disk array, storage, database, how many hosts are there. It drills down to each and every infrastructure component from the application. And it forms it in such a way that every time the business application is demanding resources, when it's getting choked at a particular time, that is when the resources need to be scaled up or scaled down. Also, understand when exactly are these resources underutilized, and how, just not by scaling up on another application, I can just place one resource from this application to the other application and not and still assure performance of both the applications. Now, how does it do it? It figures out all the kind of changes that are happening on the application. It figures out the actual performance risk. How does it do it? It is integrated with many of the application performance tools, where it is understanding the entire business application's performance risk. With that, it figures out congestions that are happening at every level of the infrastructure. And at that particular level, it's able to guide that right now with the performance bottlenecks that are happening, this application requires one particular resource. Now that particular resource, if that resource is available in a different application, it also provides you that this particular application, the second one, actually has those resources underutilized. And if you move this one to this one, you will still be having this application running at its best, but you will be able to get this application's performance risk downsized. And that's the kind of intelligence that Turbonomic has. So you would see the results that you will have siloed teams working on certain things. You will have loading happening on each of your applications. Gone are those days. You can make context of each of these into different forms. How do you do it? You will have APM tools for application management. You will have PaaS, software-defined data centers, hybrid clouds, network. All of these are your resources. And all of these teams are working on these resources to assure that the application works perfectly. But the application teams look at the application side, infrastructure team looks at the infrastructure side. How do you combine both of them to tell when exactly is an application going to be using or utilizing more of my infrastructure? Is the actual part which we try and solve through Turbonomic. So this is something which is very unique. We don't have any other product in the world doing this right now. There are many products which can do similar to this, but nobody is there which can actually prescribe those kind of actions that can be done to assure performance by removing or replacing certain of the infrastructure items, and also provide an automation button to do that in real time. The kind of savings that we've seen, and this looks out of the picture, but it's actually true. We've actually seen $40 to $60 million expected 3-year savings in one of our clients. We've actually seen an average of about 13 to 15% of savings happening on cloud spends on an average for every customer that is above 1,000 virtual machines, whether it be on any of the public clouds or hybrid clouds platform. And what we've seen is, we get a visibility of this entire landscape and how we can prescribe everything in the first 4 hours. So that's actually in the first 4 hours of deploying Turbonomic, we were able to give a whole analysis on how savings can happen, what kind of resources are underutilized, what kind of resources can be replaced by these underutilized ones, and you will actually save on cost rather than spinning up or scaling up whenever there is an extra need. The third product that we have is CloudPath for what's in AIOps. And this, goes back to when you have issues. We see many of the teams struggling whenever there is a P1 or a P2 that comes in. You would see everyone kind of, juggling around to figure out how we should solve this, having big war rooms created, everybody spending hours to figure out what's the actual root cause. And how we do that root cause analysis is by actually doing certain steps. What we do is figure out first how is everything connected. If there is a P1 or a P2, you try and find out how everything is connected. And by that, you will first analyze all kind of alerts, metrics that have come in from various sources. That can be monitoring tools, observability tools, to figure out what kind of issue is happening and how that's all connected. Next, you look at logs. Once you've figured out where exactly the issue is, you try and troubleshoot it. For troubleshooting, you would look at various logs to understand what might have caused the issue. And as soon as you find out what the issues can be, you try and find out what resolutions I can provide. And for those resolutions, either we look at a knowledge database or we look at past tickets that have been created for it. And we try and figure out what kind of issues can be resolved by using the same kind of resolution steps. We've got that all covered in one platform. That's CloudPath for what's in AIOPS. That's why it says one cohesive solution. In one particular platform, it can be integrated with all monitoring tools and platforms, whether it be Instana, whether it be SolarWinds, Nagios, any open source, anyone else. It can actually integrate with all. It can even integrate with native tools, for example, for Azure Monitor, AWS CloudWatch, or having SCOM or anything like that, which is provided by any of the native providers. It connects with each of them, takes that information in. It forms topology mapping by using topology maps to figure out the entire topology, service dependency maps as well. It is able to correlate the alerts from various sources into one particular incident to figure out, to basically collaborate and say that this is what my root cause is, and have a ticket automatically created onto the ITSM platform. That's a bi-directional integration that it has with the ITSM platform, in which it understands what kind of what is the incident going to be. That's going to be one incident for many alerts that have come in. From there, it can actually give you one particular view and not on everything else. You don't have to log into a separate UI or UX. You can actually get that right on your own chat op screen. So if your company uses Slack or if you use Teams, doesn't matter. CloudPath for What's in AIOps can actually give you a notification right there on these collaboration channels, giving you in-depth coverage about everything that's happening on the incident. You will have links to find out what kind of alerts and events have been grouped together to create this incident. You will get a view of the entire topology and the service map of how this is connected to each other. You also get a blast radius telling you that this is the impact right now, but there can be a more major impact that can happen to other services which are also linked to it. It also gives you all the anomalous or erroneous logs that have been figured out from various sources, so that your troubleshooting can be happening faster. And along with that, it also gives you all related tickets for that particular incident by mapping the actual description of the incident to the actual description of the ServiceNow ticket, to figure out what could be those related tickets, which you can see and figure out what was the resolution done to resolve this. It doesn't end there. It actually has an automation engine embedded to it as well. Using that automation engine, it can resolve that incident as well by automatically. So typically saying, you start from monitoring, you create the incident automatically as well, and you have that incident resolved by making a correlational problem deterministic approach. That's the entire thing that can be done through CloudPath for What's in AIOps. It is basically there, and the benefits that you get out of it is just not by looking at a one good beautiful screen. It actually helps you get to the root cause earlier. It gets you to resolve the issue earlier because you have context information from logs, from other incidents that have happened in the past. It also helps you to figure out what kind of issues can happen if I don't act right now. It gives you a blast radius to understand how other things are connected and what kind of impact I might have. And it actually helps you make those kind of decisions as well, in which you would want to probably up the resource in capacity for just to have more cushion on your entire application stack. So we've actually had a large multinational FSI perform this whole function of IBM AIOps portfolio. What we saw were the actual challenges: over provisioning due to growth in container environment. They had multiple containers created, but the utilization of those containers was not that well. In fact, it was about 20% usually. There were many siloed operation teams. They were trying to figure out one particular issue amongst themselves, but it was actually something that they couldn't correlate to each other. They were trying to find out what kind of issues are happening, and that actually related to a longer mean time to resolution and mean time to detect as well. What we performed for them using our own platforms was 1,300 containers were found on risk. We were able to reclaim about 45% of vCPU cluster reserves. We were able to do 4,000 risks identified on VSI environment. We were able to lower the CPU contention by 40% and improve the VDI performance and improve the density by over about 15%. And This is one success story out of many that we have in various industries. This one is from a large bank. We've actually been more associated with banks in general and financial services, but we have such case studies for each, and you can always find it out on our website. So, well, definitely there are certain next steps. You can schedule a demo with us. We can host some workshops for you for each of these and try and find out the proof of value of any of these products within your environment. So you can always connect with us and we'll be happy to take it forward. So that's all from my end. I'm happy to take up any questions right now. And Naresh, if you can help coordinate the questions with me.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Manav, for that very insightful session, talking us through in terms of what are the IBM AIOPS portfolio, key pillars of it. So typically, what we want to do, do the messaging today is that in a modern digital businesses, right? Application is the most important artifact in anybody's business. And quite simply, ensuring that the customer-facing application are running properly without any resource shortage and autocorrects itself with self-healing kind of enablement, make sure that the business is functioning. So that's the main message we wanted to give, a combination of the IBM AIOPS portfolio in terms of Instanta, Turbonomic, CloudPath for what's an AIOPS. Together delivers the application centric digital transformation. So I'll open the forum for questions. So if you want to ask any specific questions to Manav and Vikas, you can unmute yourself and shoot the questions. There is also a Q&A panel open. Manav, I have the first question already posted in the Q&A. The question is a bit tricky. I'll read out the question. Probably Pradeep Kumar Goli can explain the question a bit more. The question is, how can our AI SaaS-based multiple wealth and banking tool of big data consuming bank deposit transaction counting convert into a style limit cloud workload B2B, B2G, or B2G at World Micro Stock Exchange and Antique Bank? So the question is kind of a bit complicated. So probably Pradeep Kumar Goli, if you want to elaborate a bit more on the question that what exactly you're trying to ask, probably Vikas or Manav can chip in with the specific answer. I have one more question also in the chat window in the question and answer session. What will be the roadmap of AIOPS in next 5 years, and how it will impact the managed services engagement as such? Probably Vikas or Manav, one of you can pick up the question and probably walk us through in terms of what would be the roadmap.
Let me pick this question. Let me try answering. Okay. So as we all know that the natural evolution of a ITOps basically is AIOPS, and AIOps is all about basically application of artificial intelligence to enhance IT operations, correct? So AIOps tools provide IT operations teams with the complete artificial intelligence, big data and machine learning capabilities. With that, they actually detect issues earlier and predict future issues, reduce event noises in order to basically pinpoint the problem source and make holistic conclusion. And this is where the whole world is moving. Whole world is moving towards whereby we are trying to analyze the data more, we're trying to understand the data more, we're trying to pinpoint the problems before it's actually hamper our environment. We are trying to reduce our mean time to recovery of the problem. Okay, and that is what AIOps is enabling for this ITOps organizations over there, and that's a new era of ITOps management. Okay, and basically post that, once we identify the problem quickly, we take a holistic decision. It also AIOps helps you to basically take a automated action so that you can solve the problem without any manual interventions also. So this end-to-end cycle, basically that's what AIOps is bringing, and that's where it is a future roadmap, because Gartner is also talking about this, and all organizations are converting from a traditional monitoring IT operations stuff to a AIOps driven IT proactive IT operations. That's what the organizations are trying to do. And as I mentioned, that it will impact in identifying the problem very, very quickly. Does it answer the question for the participant?
Yeah, I think largely, it answers the question. I have one more question around from the, IT strategy team. Probably, it is the team just asking. with a lot of, application in banking and financial industry, not really ready with microservices-led architecture. Is it really possible to reap the benefit of the complete platform? As projected in the presentation? That's the question. It is coming from the IT strategy team.
Sure. So answering to this question is yes, it is possible. Okay. The beauty of the solution is this is not restricted to say a cloud native application or a microservices driven application. Okay, and I agree that it depends upon means the benefits could be, for example, say with coming microservices architecture and cloud native application, it could be say up to a level 10. But with monolithic applications also, it could also reach to up to a level 7 or 8 also. But it is possible, surely possible. Because thing is that this tool is not only restricted to cloud native or monolith or say microservices based architecture application. It can cover the other aspects of the applications also. Plus the consolidation of the events, the consolidation of the faults, identification of the root causes from the fault, collection of centralized event consolidation, correlation, everything can be happen for not only the application side, but on the other network and all the other aspects of the application infra also. So that's possible.
In fact, because I would like to add to that, because I actually pointed out an actual thing, and I would refer to the slides that I went through. There is a maturity map for AIOps, and that maturity maps talk about processes and culture. And I said that's the first thing that impacts. So you can be at a very early stage. Does that mean that you can't adopt AIOps? Of course you can. Of course you can. Of course, the whole world is moving towards a higher resilient application infrastructure. So yes, if your app is going to be asking for more resources, yes, you would be, probably looking at not just a bare metal one, but moving to a architecture where, you would need more. So yes, AIOps can help you at your current stage as well. And as soon as you move forward, it grows with you.
And it's a
Yeah,
journey.
that's true.
AIOps is not a one-day
Yeah.
activity. It's a journey. So
That's why,
organizations have to go through various steps of journey. So
exactly.
whatever the tools you have, you can start today, and slowly and steadily you can add. So you're ready with the platform, and whatever the applications you are coming with the futures, so they start tagging to this particular platform. So that's the basics of this.
Yeah, I understand the objective of, such adopting such platform, right? It's basically for, faster IT decision making and ensure that the overall resource consumption, it need not be, microservices-led architecture. It could be, monolithic architecture as well. Still, ensuring the utilization is optimized and enhancing the overall, service delivery aspect of it. With the objective of, overall reducing the MTTR, or in terms of reducing a human error in IT services operations point of view, reducing the manual efforts and processes which can directly impact in terms of cost reduction over a period of time. So the combination of multiple factors are there in adoptions, as Manav was pointing out as well. There are multiple roadmaps available for adoption as well. Just to answer the question, of course, monolithic architecture application can be also adopting AIOps. I have one more question from Mr. Santosh Shukla. The question is that how does AIOps discover the patterns within a very noisy data and also ensure that it is very accurate? So probably, one of you can take up this question.
That's actually a very, very good question. And that's, one place where many vendors actually struggle. Data is all, coming from, your organization. As the last question was mentioned, there was a monolithic app. A monolithic app works in a very different way compared to, an enterprise digitally transformed microservices based architecture. You will have different context coming in. That's your data. How to figure out how your data is performing on terms of IT operations is predominantly in 3 different factors. And that's how the whole world sees it. One, topology, how everything is connected. That was the first thing. And that was majorly through network, network topology, understanding how that network topology works. And you would figure out in my topology map, one thing goes down, I know, who might be the parent is going to be the issue. That's one way to find out. That was one correlation that was done. Later, as we spanned out, dependency maps got created. And that dependency map is not for one topology. Dependency map can be, I have one application whose database server is in another cluster and the service is running on another cluster. I have everything distributed. That is where the need came in to have dependency maps. That's another way how you're making sense of your data that is coming in. You create service dependency maps. The third came in when you wanted to combine both and have time based on each of my decisions. When was the first alert that came in, from which dependency map? And I start evaluating in the last 15 minutes what all alerts came in and what were they related to. And I map all of them into one and say that I found my issue. It's because of this, because I see this was the first one. These were three different ways that it started and has evolved. And of course, IBM provides all these three and provides customization as well. And I can give you one example for customization. If I have one particular region, I might have 4 data centers in, all around the world. I can see the application is responding slow because I have many alerts coming from one particular region. If I can club all 15 alerts coming from one region for all my applications, I can obviously relate that that might be a bigger outage, a region-wide outage. Instead of figuring out that it's a network guy issue or an application guy issue, I can comfortably say that this is a region-wide issue. How do I do that? Of course, if my past has been like that, if I'm able to analyze certain fields like that, that is when I can put certain kind of rules like that to figure out what kind of correlations I can do. I hope that answers the question.
Just to add, Manav, only one statement which I'll add that as I mentioned, that AIOps basically combines big data and machine learning to automate IT operations. And please you remember, it's been backed by IBM Watson. Okay, so that's a power is actually coming from that solution, which is everybody knows about that how well it goes through big data and understand the complete anomalies in the data over there. So that's a addition which I want to add into your answer, Manav. Naresh, over to you.
Yeah. I have one more question from Neeraj Singh. So we are from manufacturing. Hope this application can help in even manufacturing applications also.
Of course. That's the beauty of AIOps, that it is actually domain agnostic. Whether you're a pharma company, a life sciences company, or a banking financial institution, or even a manufacturing company, everything is evolving. Even in manufacturing units, you would have conveyor belts running around, figuring out, you have applications like Factory Talk, which are predominantly there whenever you have any kind of equipment being created and running around. Figuring out what kind of inventory I have at that particular moment, what's going to be my forecast, and how I can create extra products. Those are all happening through applications in the manufacturing sector. It's very, very important to keep them up and running. It's very important that they don't go down. If they don't go down, your manufacturing center actually goes down, and that's resulting into huge amount. I've actually worked for a similar organization. That's the reason why I know all of this, because it was a burning issue. As soon as that would happen, it directly translates into money. So of course, it's very, very relevant in manufacturing states.
Yeah, ensuring that application runs, which makes a business to function in all those environment. Definitely, AIOps is a choice of adoption. Yeah, I have one more question from
domain agnostic. We have to always remember AIOps is domain agnostic. Don't ever think that I'm from this industry, I might not use it. You have applications running the entire world right now.
True, very true. There's one more question from Mr. Probably we'll take other question, Max. Mr. Subramanian. Will it check compliance-related risk and provide a detailed report as well? So compliance-related risk is what Mr. Subramanian is referring. So
compliance means okay. Let me try giving a context to this. Like for example, because compliance is a big word, correct? It can covers various aspects of the compliance. Okay. So let's say, for example, let me take an example of say SOX compliance or IT compliance, correct? There, for example, you want to ensure that my application is there and it has all the resources available whenever they require. So Turbonomics could be one area which can help them. Okay. Similar way, you want to understand that what's my application overall inventory or overall application dependencies. That Turbo and Instana can basically come into the picture. Similar way, like for example, you maintain the whenever the any problem happen, it should be alerted from my process compliance perspective. Okay, it should go to the ticketing system where I should have level 1, level 2, level 3 escalation metrics and all this defined. That's also possible. So it's various aspect of compliances that can be made possible, but we need to understand deeper that which set of compliances has been asked over there. So various reports can be pulled out, like for example, what's my performance, what's my availability. So various reports can be pulled out from these tools, and various process can be defined on these tools. So that can be it can work with the compliance framework. That's the answer I can try to give it over here.
Yeah, largely, I mean, most of the financial services organizations are compliance driven. So ensuring that compliance, I mean, ecosystem also this solution works is absolutely required. There was no question from Mr. Saurav Srivatsava. Do we have any government banks using it currently? Does it comply with RBI regulations? So this is about the reference basically around the banking segment. Probably Vikas can take up this question.
Yes, it is. There are government organizations as well as banks also who are using these tools over there. Okay, and I can't take the names of them right now on this, but yes, there are government organizations who are using it.
I'll probably squeeze in one last question from an anonymous user, so participant. So can AIOPS, I mean, integrate the different other automation platform and help to automate the service request or incidents for some kind of a closed loop automation to achieve the self-healing?
Absolutely. I can
Yes.
take that answer.
What?
Actually, that's one aspect that I was not able to drill down too much. But yes, CloudPath for what's in AIOps provides automation for both self-healing of incidents, also any kind of orchestration or service request related automation that is required is something also that CloudPath for what's in AIOps can do. We're actually coming up with an entire incident resolution hub, which is the next vision of automation in IT operations, where you don't even have to create those runbooks anymore. You get skeleton runbooks based on what the parameter has been in various other organizations, and you use that to resolve your incidents. Same goes with service requests. So CloudPath for what's in IOPS is actually your answer for both, for service request automation and for self-healing. So it's going to be a closed loop on both.
Absolutely.
And Manav, just
So I
to
think
add to this, one statement what we always give: you tell us the way we can pick up a event or a fault from a system, but whatever the system it is, whether it's a manufacturing system or it's a IT system, we will get the event to our our Watson AI ops, and we will take it to the ticketing system. So we have a direct integration with ticketing system like ServiceNow or our own system, help desk over there, and we can pick up almost like virtually any source you tell us, which can forward a alert fault event to us. We can pick the data, we can get the data in, and we can correlate on top of it, and we can forward it to the ticketing system. That's what we can do. That's the power of our solution. So we are not telling you to rip and replace anything into your environment. Whatever it is, we can still fit into this. So this is what new IBM is all about, that we can still work with whatever running into your environment and try correlating, consolidating everything on a one platform. That's what we can do. That's
we have
our
already
core focus.
overshot our time by 2 minutes. So we are overruled with some other questions as well. Probably we'll get back to you one-to-one with answers for some of the questions which just come in the Q&A window. So probably I'll invite now, Pankaj Gruver, who heads our services business for India, managed services and IT operations services, to probably, give the closing comments. Pankaj, over to you.
Yeah, thank you all for joining, and hope you have taken the learnings out of that sessions, and probably you will be able to know more on the AI ops and the things actually. So me and my team will be in touch with you going forward, so that if you are looking for any such kind of the requirement within your organization, so we will definitely will touch base upon you with you, and will take it forward. If any questions which we have not answered today, we will take it ahead actually in one-to-one sessions, and if required, we can also get arrange the demo sessions or the POC along with the IBM, which is customized as per your requirement, right? To have more in depth of the AI ops and how you are able to get the ROIs. So once again, thank you for joining us, and we, we we would like to connect in future for your all IT related requirements. Thank you all.
Can we have a video meeting? I think someone is recording this video. Can we have a one-on-one video so that we can just go through that complete session once again, and might be I will come back to you, or maybe your team member will connect. We'll have some good questions.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely, Mr. Neeraj Singh. Yes, yes. We'll circle
Definitely,
back with you with a separate one-to-one. Yes.
Thanks. Thank
So
you.
thank you everybody for participating in this session, and hope you had an insightful session. I think thanks Manav and Vikas for walking us through. Thanks everybody.
Thank you, Naresh. Thank you for arranging this. And thank you all for joining in. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.